boom, he's shot. They shot the main hero in it, and it looks like at point blank range.
Even if you find contaminated drinking water, that can be filtered out, but it has to be filtered. You can't boil out radiation unless you.
Right.
Yeah, even distilling it wouldn't trust, but you can filter it.
Oh, I'm Batman.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide this respiratory system here. She's got some sort of tank on her back, but she has a mask with a filter on it, so that's not, the tank isn't feeding the mask.
Here we have Metro Exodus. That is the post-nuclear Holocaust game set in Russia. And here we have all sorts of people that are living in the metro system, the only place that apparently is safe for human habitation. Just what kind of event is it? Is it a radiation event like what we are seeing in Metro Exodus? If it is, then basically you have to get into your basement, or you have to get into an inside room if you don't have a basement. So these are some of the things that you have to get away from the original thermal blast and the radiation from the detonation itself, which is much more than what you'll see, over time. Radiation does go away over time. Matter of fact, it's down to 10% just after 24 hours.
My first thought would be, oh no.
My first thought would probably include a 4-letter word, but we won't use that here.
Crud.
Yes, drat.
Oops.
Oh, here we have the mutated rats, or whatever they are.
So you're sitting here in a fully destroyed area. Now, the thing about radiation is things don't become radioactive. Like, people don't become radioactive. They don't get the green glow. It's the fallout that is just these dust particles from a nuclear blast. Here they're taking the cell mutation and extending it into these monster species.
We saw our hero, Artyom, go out into the surface and then go right back down underground.
Yeah, so hopefully he had respiratory protection. That's your number one priority in a post-nuclear incident.
This guy has light, but he uses a lighter to destroy cobwebs. It seems sort of superfluous.
Yeah, he could wipe him down, but he's lighting a fire in a confined sewer space, and there could be trapped gases or flammable gases.
Oh boy, you're ugly.
So he just killed Gollum. This is a Lord of the Rings crossover.
My precious. Well, there's some more golems.
It's always interesting to see the kind of weapons these video games show so far in the future, what they've been able to develop or maintain from previous times.
Well, there's no laser cannons, that's for sure.
No laser cannons yet. We'll see.
I don't know, but you should open the door. Oh, well, maybe you should open the door. Open the door. Open the door. Okay, close the door. Close the door. Ouch. Oh my gosh. Oh.
Dead.
Wow. Well, I like the graphics. I think the graphics are definitely very passable.
I like the chin hair on the monsters.
Unfortunately, getting bitten by these things quite a few times is not good for your health. And it looks like your buddies are actually picking you up and getting you to whatever hospital setup they possibly could have there.
So they said it's nighttime at this station. Now they are underground, so they're simulating daytime or nighttime. And you have to do that probably even after a long period of time with humans. That's something they've considered for space travel when you don't have your regular sunlight hours. People who live in far north or far south environments who have limited daylight during the hours, or during daylight hours, they have to simulate it sometimes. It can affect your mood, your attitude, your behavior, just not having your daytime, nighttime with your circadian rhythm.
Now, the difference between this and our last time was that Artyom, our hero here, has a wife.
Dad, please.
So we don't know if he has a dog or if he has tropical fish or what, but he looks like he has a father or father-in-law and a wife.
Yeah, so he explores out there, puts himself in danger, trying to figure out I'm presuming he's trying to figure out if he can live on the surface, but he's leaving his wife behind. So family, of course, would be important, not just because family is important, but also you have limited numbers of people in the world, and he's going to put himself in danger.
Which, of course, everybody else in the metro seems to think that he's nuts.
Yes. And
they may be right.
He may be.
Right, and this guy also has a band of brothers, as you can see here. They're called the Spartan Order. However, he's out. Oh, and now he brings his wife. Interesting choice. Well, it's better to have somebody to cover your six, but... Oh, I'm Batman.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide this respiratory system here. She's got some sort of tank on her back, but she has a mask with a filter on it, so that's not... The tank isn't feeding the mask.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Must be oxygen for situations in which there may be fumes or chemical spills, things like that.
Right. I also didn't see any decontamination efforts going on inside the underground there.
Interestingly enough, I find very little here to loot. Now, usually when you're doing this kind of area exploration thing, there are things that you can pick up. Now, that really doesn't seem to happen in Metro Exodus, as far as I can tell.
It really
in
sets
the clips we've seen.
Yeah, it really sets the mood. Like, this is almost absolute destruction, and there's a lot of stuff around, but it's the kind of stuff that in a modern world made sense, but in a survival situation, it's just stuff. But remember that anything up here is going to be covered in fallout. You'll have to decontaminate it before you bring it down. So I wouldn't trust anything I'm putting on an open wound or into my body.
Even the animals, if there were animals out here that would be edible, they would be radioactive, just like they are still in Chernobyl.
He keeps flagging his wife. Like, all this gun safety, knowing your target, what's behind it, not pointing your gun at other people or anything you don't want to shoot. Man, he abandons her, keeps flagging her. I'm starting to think he doesn't like her very much.
She's oftentimes in front of him when he's shooting.
So these military vehicles were probably looted a long time ago, but that's where you'd most likely find ammunition or explosives or weapons. Even if they were impacted by the blast, some of that might still have been protected through the armor of the military vehicle. Even if you find contaminated drinking water, that can be filtered out, but it has to be filtered. You can't boil out radiation unless you...
Right.
Yeah, even distilling it wouldn't trust, but you can filter it.
What a charm, are you seeing this?
Oh, well, look at that.
Imagining things, right?
A train. That's not supposed to exist. There's not supposed to be anything on the surface, but apparently there is.
You'd hope they cleared and checked the track, otherwise they're running blind. But if they're running, maybe they've run this route before, which means maybe they'll run it again.
Well, now, this is something that's important. They just stop for no apparent reason. They're not underground, they're not at a base or anything like that. They're here, I think, to do one thing and one thing alone. And that is to execute the outsiders. And Artyom, of course, brave man that he is, attacks them. He's attacked by the dog. And... boom. He's shot. They shot the main hero in it. And it looks like at point blank range, you wonder if he's dead. So this, when I saw this clip, was a surprise to me.
He sure has survived a lot so far.
Well, I mean, he was shot in the chest point blank, and he's still alive.
That fall is also significant.
You see this skull here. This is where they take people from the outside to execute them, so that nobody else knows that there's actually people on the outside.
So he was looking for some respiratory protection. They took the mask off. If the air is that toxic, it's likely that a mask with a filter isn't going to be the thing that's saving you, because we're assuming it's toxic with radiation. And breathing in a little bit of radiation, you're not going to have an acute reaction. For
protection from some radiation, you can use potassium iodide, which helps protect against radioiodine affecting your thyroid. There have been thousands of cases in young people of thyroid cancer after the Chernobyl meltdown in 1986. Somehow he managed to crawl to a base. He's not bleeding out, apparently.
Yeah, I guess so. We kind of glossed over the whole bullet wound thing, and you got to wonder if he actually had time to heal from those animals that had attacked him previously. Any injury can be life-threatening. Yeah, you always think that you're going to survive even when others don't, whether or not it's actually true, and it's probably not. Mostly comes down to statistics. If a large incident like this happens, being prepared for anything is important, but if a large incident happens, a lot of it comes down to luck. If you're in the wrong place, you're dead. But if you live and you're prepared, then you're in a better situation to survive.
Oh, did you see that? His badge, his order badge had the bullet.
Oh, it was from the
dog tag had the bullet. That's how he survived. So he's not shot at all.
That had to have been some pretty strong metal.
Well, I want you to see this. This here is the next big reveal, which shows that they have actually a radio jammer that's been preventing transmissions from coming into or out of Moscow. And as you see, there's green dots that just came up. Those are now other places where there are people and that are transmitting radio signals.
So in our regular society right now, we've got pretty well established systems of control. You have governments, borders, nations, etc. When that breaks down, when society breaks down, there's an uncertainty. You don't know where boundaries are, you don't know who's in charge of what the rules are. For all we know, our main character is really messing up.
Are you okay?
Okay, so they were almost at a train, but I don't see the train anymore.
I really like that heat ripple we just saw. That was a cool graphic. Not sure how I feel about this this lens we're looking through, especially because it has a hole in it. If it has a hole in it, it defeats the purpose. Air will go through the path of least resistance, and if there's a hole in your respiratory protection, the air is going to go through the hole.
All aboard!
Also, where's the differentiation between what's contaminated and what's not? She's running around without a mask on it, but a minute ago he was about to die because he didn't have one. There's no threshold they're crossing. If it's in the air, then it's everywhere, unless you're in an airtight environment.
Oh, caught again. Boy, this guy...
Gotta keep up the suspense.
No, you know what? This is the next big reveal. Dad is actually a traitor.
Maybe that's why he was upset that the main character was going up on the surface, because he was going to find out too much.
You see that? That there's a law that people who did what Artyom and his wife did are actually under pain of execution for what they did.
Come with me, Artyom. Let's catch them.
Some air. Let's catch some
There you
contaminated air. Well, that was Metro Exodus. A lot of fun lessons learned. You can find me on Instagram at The Preparedness Guy.
And make sure you subscribe to Gamology for more super videos and expert reacts.